This is Bobby Kraft coming to you live on SNNLive. We're here at the New York Hard Assets Investment Conference in Times Square, New York. I'm here with Mickey Fulp, the mercenary geologist. You can find him on Twitter at mercenarygeo, and his website is www.mercenarygeologist.com. Mickey, welcome back.
Thanks, Bobby.
So, you've talked to my father quite a bit.
I have.
And, this is a different spin that we're doing on it this time.
Okay.
But I'd like to start out with what you've been talking about recently. So, if you please, you want to mention something about why gold stocks suck or something?
Well, that was my latest piece, why gold stocks suck. And, of course, I have to give credit for the guy that first said it, and that's Eric Coffin at the Cambridge House in Calgary. And they do right now. If you look at what the Toronto Venture Exchange has done, while gold has gone up something on the order of 18% over the last 15 months, the Toronto Venture Exchange has gone down about 40%. So why is that? Well, there has been a decoupling between the price of gold and these gold exploration stocks. Some of that has to do with the fact that there's alternative investment in paper gold with the ETF, but in my opinion, paper gold does not equate to buying physical bullion. So there's been a disconnect. The juniors have not performed. They have, over the course of this boom, in my opinion, as a group, now there's some notable exceptions, but as a group, you would have to say they have overpromised and underdelivered. And I think that's a very big problem in the business. And speculators and investors have started to realize that. So the markets have very high risk aversion right now, and these are the riskiest stocks in the world. Therefore, there's low liquidity, low volumes. No one wants to buy these stocks right now, and valuations have suffered.
So I have a question to follow that up. And I was reading an article the other day that this could possibly be the cause or the effect that happened from producers overproducing. Does that have anything to do with these juniors and the
Well, I'm not really sure because we produced 2,800 tons of gold last year. Now, that was an all-time high, but gold has no real demand. It's got no real use. So whatever we produce, it basically is going to be hoarded for the most part. If you're smart, you put 10% of your net wealth in gold and you don't really sell it. Some people speculate in it. So, in my opinion, because the gold prices remained high, if it was because we were producing too much gold worldwide, then the price would go down, and we haven't really seen that. I mean, the gold price goes up and down depending on the strength of the dollar and people's perception of the economic health and geopolitics of the world. So I really don't quite buy that scenario myself.
So I got another question to follow that up. And I want to get into possible alternatives to investing in gold bullion. You said 10% of your portfolio should be invested in gold, but gold's at $1,600. You look at my generation, and that's expensive. That's an expensive buy to get. I mean, what kind of alternatives can we look into other than gold?
I don't think there are any alternatives to ensure the financial viability of not only yourself but your progeny and your grandchildren. Then you want to own gold because gold's the only thing in the world. Gold is money. Nothing else is really money. So gold historically retains its purchasing power. You bought this nice suit right here for somewhere around the cost of an ounce of gold. It's about what my nice suit cost me. In 1935, you could go and buy a nice suit for an ounce of gold. You could buy a nice suit for an ounce of gold in 1984 when gold was $400 an ounce. So that tells you gold retains its purchasing power, whereas all these fiat currencies continue to inflate and get devalued and worth less and less and less. So the idea is you buy gold and you hoard it and you sock it away, and it becomes your insurance policy, your safe haven for financial calamity. If you don't use it in your lifetime, then it makes your ensures the financial ability of viability of your children and your grandchildren, etc. So I don't see an alternative for buying gold. Now, you don't want to put all your money in gold, because that just means then you're going to have to sell your gold to meet your needs of food, shelter, and clothing, right? So it's a way, and it's not speculating. You don't invest in gold. You don't speculate in gold. You buy gold and you hoard it. And you'll be a rich man the rest of your life if you do that. Now, you're in a good position at your age, because you can do this for the rest of your life and accumulate gold. And yes, it's expensive, but buy it on the dips. Buy it this July when it has its seasonal low.
I ask because, you look at the price of silver, you look at the price of copper, you look at these and you think to yourself, wow, $30 an ounce. I mean, that sounds something that I can afford and buy a lot of right now, as opposed to buying 1 ounce of gold, which is $1,600. What do you think about that?
Well, I think you should own some silver too, but unfortunately, silver is what I call a bipolar metal. It has an industrial use, and it has value as a precious metal too. So in times of financial duress, it tends to behave more like a precious metal. In times of economic health, it is very much an industrial metal. So yeah, you want to own some silver too, but the basis of your financial security must be gold.
So we're about halfway through 2012. What can we look forward to for the rest of the year?
In metal prices, I'm very comfortable with gold being range-bound where it is right now. I don't see anything that's going to upset the apple cart unless we decide to go to war with Iran before the election. I personally think that's going to happen after the election, after we have a new president or the old boss. The new boss is going to be the same as the old boss. Doesn't really matter. So I would look for gold to be range-bound. Silver being much more volatile, is going to continue to be much more volatile. I do not see a lot of hope, i.e. my recent article, Why Gold Stocks Suck. I don't see a lot of optimism on the horizon. I'm very bearish in the near term for this sector, the junior resource sector. And it goes beyond the gold stocks. It includes lots of stocks, with a couple of exceptions. There's a buzz on the street now about graphite. In my opinion, graphite's the next big thing. It's the next bubble being built. So now's probably the time that you want to go find some good graphite stocks and find the ones that are going to succeed, the ones that are going to end up building mines. And there's a 2 or 3 of those out there right now. And it's pretty easy to decide what I would call the cream of the crop in that space.
If I may ask you really quickly, why?
Same old story. The Chinese control most of the world's graphite market, something 75%. The increased demand in China is putting export licenses and taxes. There's a movement afoot to consolidate the business and make a state-owned monopoly, or perhaps not a monopoly, but certainly an oligopoly in China, which means less graphite for the Western world. Graphite is a necessary commodity in the steel business, refractory, foundry, lubricants. It's more than lead in your pencil, which actually consumes about 4% of the graphite market. I've just written an article for Your Dad's magazine on graphite, and the title of it is called Graphite, the Newest Next Big Thing, and I'm talking about it at the New York show here. So there's buzz and there's money to be made. The market always has to be long on something, and now it's decided it's going to be long on graphite, in my opinion.
Great. All right. Well, this has been a fascinating interview with Mickey Fulp, the mercenary geologist. His Twitter account, if you'd like to follow him and all his updates, including his radio show, is @mercenarygeo. All right, and his website is
mercenarygeologist.com, and for Chinese speakers, mercenarygeologist.asia.
Mickey, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on to SNN Live.
Thank you, and you're a hell of a lot better looking than your dad is. It's a pleasure, Bobby.
Thank you.